What's up, race fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Box. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about all things Vegas. So let's put all the chips on the table, get this show rolling.
All right, welcome back, guys. We are going to be talking all things Pennzoil 400 from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. What did you see on that final restart where Bowman, the Showman, was able to hold off Mr. Larson, high, wide, and handsome on the outside there, and able to hold that bottom line, hold off the field, and pick up the dub?
Woo, buddy, what a finish. What a race. I saw a lot happen there. I saw Larson take the high side with 2 to go. I understand the theory behind that. That was probably a smart choice, but Bowman, the hack, comes in, ruins Larson's win. He's going for back-to-back, and Bowman said, hey, I know how to drive these things too. Sends it into 3 deep. Larson tries to get back on the throttle too soon, pushes up the track. Bowman cruises to victory coming out of 4. What a race.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch comes on the radio and says the same effing guy who backs into every effing win that he never effing gets back into another effing win. BS. What's your reaction to that? Do you think Bowman backed into this win? I mean, he was strong all day.
Hey, this guy's got all kinds of quotes, so I'm going to go back to one of his famous ones. After him and I believe Larson raced at Kansas, and he gives everybody the little crying thing, and he says, if you don't like that, don't even watch. Well, eat your own words, buddy, because that was a hell of a finish, and you just weren't on the winning side of it. So I don't think – I think there's – how many drivers can say that they didn't luck into some of their wins? I mean, really, sometimes it happens to fall that way, and all you got to do is finish the job. And that's not what happened here. Bowman had to go up against Larson, had to time the restart right. He knew Larson was going to race him clean, especially after last week.
Yeah,
Larson wasn't going to start.
He didn't want any part of that. Yeah, he drove in on his door, but the second he got a little loose or tight or whatever happened, he lifted and kind of let him go there. Going back to that the Kyle Busch quote, I agree with you. I think that if of all the wins that I think Alex Bowman has had, this is the one that he earned the most. I mean, I think back to last year, I think Dover, he held off all 3 of his teammates for that win, but he wasn't really in contention all day. Today, he led 16 laps total. That's not a whole lot, but when we look at all the drivers that led laps today, 24 lead changes, and there's quite a few different drivers that did that led laps. And so he was one of them that was up there early, kind of fell back in the stage 2 and most of the stage 3, but he was there. He was close enough to make a 2-tire stop, get him up to the front. So you couldn't have been too far back. All of his HMS teammates were strong. I jokingly texted you earlier in the race and said, what happened to Bowman the Slowman? Where did he go? And you said, I don't know. He had a fast car. So he did have a fast car. He just fell back, lost track position, was able to capitalize when he came back on, got that front row.
Yeah, it was a great job by all of Hendrick for the most part. Elliott, this is statistically his worst mile and a half, I believe. So didn't have a whole lot of expectations for him. Those kind of trends usually hold true. For the caution to come out like that, I believe, wasn't it Eric Jones that brought that out?
Yeah, the 43. So let's go through that, man. He got loose off of turn 4, overcorrected there, smacked the wall on the right front of the right front tire, completely caved it in. And instead of slowing down or stopping like you normally do when you smack the wall that hard, he kept driving. I don't know where he was trying to go. I mean, the car was clearly damaged and it wasn't going to go anywhere, but instead of slowing down, he stays on the gas, and as he's going on the gas, he starts to hook right and comes back up onto the track. And at that point, he locks up the tires, spins up on the track, about gets murdered by Bubba Wallace. And Wallace takes an evasive action, cuts hard to the left, and then goes down and noses into the inside wall there and ruins his day. So, Corey, what was your take on that situation? Did Eric Jones do anything wrong? Did you think that he was, what was he trying to do there?
Hard to say. I think he did a lot wrong. But the number one thing he did wrong.
We can agree on that.
I think the number one thing he did wrong in that was, I don't know if he didn't realize his right front wasn't responding when it comes to steering. That's what made him think he could keep driving, or what. But coming back on the track and just inadvertently just ruined Bubba's day. He was running solidly around the top 10. Looked like him and Kurt Busch were going to bring home solid finish. XI. And then here comes Eric Jones, who himself had rebounded from a struggling day to find himself near the top 10. And so poor Bubba, I mean, I think back, the first one that comes to mind is Pocono, when he catches air while avoiding a wreck and talks about needing underwear. I think he might sponsored, if he's not already, by Hanes or Under Armour, and keep an extra
Hanes
pair. Hanes
is a Jordan brand. Jordan is sponsored by Hanes, so let's get Bubba on there.
Bubba needs a pair in his car every race because he always seems to find himself in those sticky situations and barely missing a horrific situation. So it's a crazy event. It sucks. Kyle Busch was going to win, and this event brings out the yellow. The Hendrick drivers take 2 tires. Kyle Busch had 4 stickers, wasn't enough. Alex Bowman brings it home.
Yeah, and, going back to this, it didn't only ruin Eric Jones's day when he hit the wall. It ruined Bubba Wallace's, and it also ruined Kyle Busch. He had just crossed the line with 5 laps to go, and then he comes back around to the caution flag, and when he goes back and looks at that replay, he's got to be asking, who is Eric Jones's spotter? What is he doing? Why are they continuing to tell him to go around the track? Like, what? Yeah. He's not going to understand what happened. He was mad on the radio after the finish that he couldn't get back up there, but I think he's going to be even more mad after he goes back and watches that. So let's just stay on the JGR Hendrick train here. It was those guys all day long. We talked last week about parity and all these different drivers being up front, different teams, 9 different teams in the top 10. Not so this week, bud. What'd you see today?
I saw the big boys that have wind tunnel time and lots of aerodynamic engineers, or whatever you want to call them, step up to the plate, man. Money talks, how you doing? Keep it moving. Hendrick, JGR, and then you roll the dice because you're in Vegas, and Ross Chastain's team finds the magic to keep up with them. Otherwise, it was those two bouncing back and forth. There was a couple Penske cars that kind of flirted with being in there, but man, it looked like Denny Hamlin, Truex there at the end looked like he had the best car at the very end. But I think Denny overall had the best overall car throughout the day. Then Denny Hamlin, you want to talk
about a money shift? I thought we were done with money shifts. Denny has to feel terrible. He ruined the best car on the track today. And, it's just muscle memory. You go from that second to third crossover all your life, pretty much, ever since he's been driving. And now all you're doing is pulling it back. And I could see how that second to third shift right there would be the most difficult shift to make, going from 2 to 3, that over the bridge, I think is what Boyer called it. And or over the gate, that's what it was. So just to see, but back to the parity, we saw a couple guys up there. We saw like Reddick and RCR and Trackhouse, and even Jones was in like 5th or 6th before he wrecked, but it wasn't last week, and we knew it was going to be like this. Once these big boys get on tracks and get some data, all those big teams, they had 4 races last week that they could experiment on setups with all 4 of their drivers. We've kind of talked about that before, where if you've got 4 drivers, you're basically getting 4 races of data in one race, whereas some of these smaller teams, it's going to take longer. And, the parity was nice last week, and we'll see where it goes from here. But do you think that's the end of parity? Do you think today was opening the Pandora's box to what we're going to see for the rest of the season, or what are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think the parity is over. I think this is simply, I think it's simply put an arrow situation. Las Vegas is a smooth, for the most part, a smooth mile and a half friendly track, and the teams that have the money to get every inch of downforce out of their car are going to be the ones that prevailed, and that's what happened. And then I think whenever you go back to abrasive tracks, smaller tracks that require more off throttle time, more braking, I think you'll see the other teams creep back into the picture. But I think Kansas, you won't see much parity, and other tracks similar to Kansas and Vegas, you'll come out because they've,
So
like
you're
you
saying
said,
the mile and a half, basically. The mile and a half, we're not going to see parity. Maybe the short tracks, road courses, so obviously super speedways. That's always a crapshoot. Anybody's game there. But you think the mile and a half, the kind of the cookie cutters, so to say, are going to be the ones that we're seeing the least amount of parity?
Yeah, and I think also you got to consider that
Fair
we were
enough.
talking earlier that Richard Childress, they had played a big role in designing this car. So Chevys were very
They did.
powerful, and I think they will be until you know Father Time catches up, and then Toyotas and the Fords will have their shot at being at the top, just like it's a cycle that
And
never
it's a
ends.
cycle every year,
Yeah,
we've seen it every single year. Ford fired off really strong last year, and then Kyle Larson and Chevy, kicked everybody's ass the rest of the year. So
yeah,
it's just kind of it's kind of a cycle. It's what we see, and the Fords are going to have their day. Ryan Blaney is fast. He's probably the fastest Ford in the field, even though the results haven't really shown it because he got taken out early this week to no fault of his own. And then I think last week, I don't remember where he finished, but,
now,
just tough
whoa, pump the brakes. Fastest Ford right now, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, is Eric Almirola.
We'll get to the results. I got to tout my man. We had a conversation preseason on who's going to be the biggest surprise, and I believe I'm winning that so far. So,
Yes,
well,
yes.
while we're at it, let's go ahead and jump to the finishing order of the Las Vegas Pennzoil 400. So you guys see it right there on the screen. Alex Bowman gets the win. We talked about that. Best his teammate Kyle Larson. How about Kyle Larson? First last week, second this week. Can that guy get a round of applause? Let's give him. Woo! Good job,
Young
Larson.
Money.
Hey, good job, Hack, for bringing it home. Corey, you mentioned it earlier. The Hack is up here. Let's see if he can put some consistency together.
There you go. There's a catchphrase. The Hack is back.
The Hack is back. Bowman, the slowman, puts it up front to be the showman.
Oh my God. The dad rhymes never end.
The show's going off the rail. Let's keep going down through the top finishers here. Just so you see them there on the left side of your screen. Ross Chastain, Watermelon Man. He beats Kyle Busch to the line. Let's go, baby. Good job,
Watermelon
Ross.
Man. Nice job.
Yeah, that's your man, Corey. Led the most laps today. What'd you see out of him?
Ooh, I saw an overnight maturity. This is a car that I would expect to see Ross spinning out in because he's an aggressive driver. But he said in interviews today that he read some book and he's getting some coaching from Josh Wise, I believe, is helping him
Josh Wise.
spotting and helping him rein in his speed. Say like sometimes you have to go a little slower to go a little faster. So
Yeah,
it really
helping him
showed up
rein in that
today.
aggressiveness, that over aggressiveness to drive in there, on the bottom 3 wide in the lap 50 of a
And like one thing I've always said,
260 lap race.
you can't teach speed. Someone can
It's
tell
easier
someone
to slow them down.
Yep.
You're right about that. So let's keep running it down, man. We'll look at the rest of the top 10 here. William Byron finally gets a good finish. He's had some good runs. Good job, Willie B. And then my man, Mr. Retirement and P6, Eric Almirola, the only driver who has finished in the top 10 every single week so far this season. Corey, I want you to tell me what's impressed you about Mr. Almirola.
Well, 3 races in, and he's wasted no time making me eat my words.
No, he hasn't.
At the
And I hope they taste good. Actually, I hope they're sour. Almost
they're a
like
little
sucking on
sour.
toenails.
What's the most sour about it? I mean, and be honest, is the fact that it's him. I mean, if I see his name, I think I see Kevin Harvick's name there, or even Chase Briscoe, but it's just him. Like Kevin
Yeah.
Harvick is nowhere to be found. He creeped into the top 10 last week with like 30 to go. It's Eric Almirola and Eric Almirola only out of the Superhouse camp. So he's like, yeah, it's like he heard me and it's like this guy. Like, let me show him what I got. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Absolutely. And he's definitely doing that too right now. And
Yeah.
speaking of Kevin Harvick, he came home P12 today, so he didn't make it on our top finishers there, but he's trying hard to get on that board, and we'll see if we can get there next week. So Tyler Reddick comes home P7 after spinning out early in the race, runs through the grass. Hey, I have to say this about the new car. Let me get on a rant here. The new car, the old car, you're sliding through the grass like that, your day is done. That splitter is ripping in the turf there, and it's coming off. The front of your car is going to be destroyed. You know, your fender's going to be rolled in. He slid through the entire infield and was able to come out on pit road and able to continue. So I just want to give NASCAR a huge kudos. Good job on this composite body. I love to see that these guys' days not ruined by just sliding through the grass like that. You got anything to add to that, Corey?
Yeah, just super happy for all the drivers today. There were a lot of self spins, and that kind of correlates
We
with
have to
the
talk about that.
durability. I just throwing it in with the durability, man. That to see him go across the grass and drive away, seeing more of these flat tires, being able to drive away today. I mean, Christopher Bell had a flat today where it looked like he was a Hummer in the desert. That car was going. I was like, man, I feel bad for him right now. That looks painful.
Yeah, like riding a Bronco.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's great, man. I'm loving everything about this car so far.
The 12 cautions. You know, this is the second week in a row we've had 12 cautions. It looked like they were able to make more saves today. We saw a lot of drivers getting real loose and able to corral the cars before they went around. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And we saw a lot more guys today. I saw Kyle Larson catch his. You know, there was a lot of guys that caught their car today. And I think as they get more experience, I think the rack and pinion too, Corey, is really taking some guys for a loop more than they probably thought, especially in those instances. And I want to get your thought on this. Does the rack and pinion, that quick reaction, it causes overcorrections? You know, if you're used to turning the wheel all the way up to 12 o'clock with one of your hands, your left hand to correct a slide, and now you only have to do it to, 10 o'clock, you're going to overcorrect like Eric Jones did and end up in the outside wall. And we've seen that quite a bit with these drivers already.
Yeah, buddy. It definitely. I think like we were talking during the race, you were like, young guys are here based on starting position. I think that's coming into play too. The new steering system for the older guys, they're like Denny Hamlin with his shifting muscle memory is huge. People that have been in the sport for so long.
With
I
those
mean,
veterans.
there's so many things that they do at this point in their career that is subconscious per se that they don't even think about anymore. They're having to redo all of this stuff, and so they're very uncomfortable in these cars, which leads to mistakes.
Yeah. And I completely agree, and I think that's enough on that topic. Before we get out of here, there's one thing we have to talk about that you weren't sure you wanted to bring up, but I'm just gonna get your opinion on it. I didn't really get to watch the broadcast, so I did not get to hear a lot of Danica's analysis or lack thereof, according to Twitter. What
You
did
know,
you think of Danica Patrick's TV performance? I know you had some complaints.
it was just so obviously the Twitterverse is going to make things way over the top, even way worse than they were. It wasn't bad. I thought I was overall, I'd say she did a decent job. There felt a moment, I think, in stage two where she just, anything that was happening, she was comparing to IndyCar, and that was just getting old. I was like, I'm not here. I like IndyCar, it's great racing, but not that. These are these cars, this is this series, these drivers, let's keep it here. Want to make a analogy maybe? Okay, but it just seemed like every time she talked about a problem or something, yeah, this is kind of like that. Or this is kind of like IndyCar. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
that's not what I'm here for you to listen to. I want to hear about these cars and not what they might be like, because you're more of an open wheel driver until you came to Cup. But otherwise, I mean, I'm being overcritical. That's how I feel. But in in the whole race, I think she stopped really.
So I did catch the end of it where I don't remember who wrecked. Maybe it was Eric Jones, where she was talking about how great of a day he was having, and then towards the end they asked who she liked before that last restart, and she's like, "I'm not gonna say who I like because I'm afraid I'm gonna jinx them. So I've got my thoughts, but I'm not gonna talk." I'm sorry. You are here and you are paid to tell us what you think. You know, you're not there to say, I have my thoughts, but you're not going to know what they are because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings when they go back and watch this. Well, I got news for you, girl. You don't have that kind of power. So I did get frustrated by that. With that, Corey, do you got anything else you would like to talk about to wrap up this Vegas reaction?
Yeah, there was one thing I had written down that was just a personal note from what we had talked about preseason about what Kurt Busch might bring to 23XI to put any kind of pressure on Bubba. And I watched the whole race start to finish, glued to the TV. I don't even think I got up to go to the bathroom. And I think by stage 2, I had, Kurt Busch and Bubba Wallace were P15 with 65 to go in the race. That just made me think. I was going to ask you, I know we're still early, but they were pretty much right there within each other for a good portion of the race. Both started to creep towards the top 10 there at the end before Bubba's misfortune. Do you think this shows that Bubba belongs here and that the car might just be off?
I don't even think the car's off. I think at stage 2, Bubba finished P10. So he was in the top 10 at the end of stage 2. Most of the race, they were both kind of back there. Kurt Busch finished in 13th, and Bubba was going a lap down, or I think they said he may have been a lap down, or was getting ready to go a lap down or something whenever that crash happened. But I thought that, Kurt Busch has wheeled that car. They were off today. Like I said, I had it on in the background, so not sure if he had some problems today or why he was back there. But yeah, I think Bubba Wallace deserves that ride. I mean, you see what he did in the Truck Series and how he was going in Xfinity before that ride at Roush got shut down. So he's a good driver. He just needs more seat time in competitive rides to kind of figure out how to restart up front, how to manipulate the air closer to the front, those kinds of things. He's just not got a lot of experience of being in a good car. And I think as we go throughout the year, I think we're going to see him. And I predicted at the beginning of the year that he's going to have 2 wins this season and, be knocking on the door of a top 12, round of 12 in the playoffs, possibly round of 8. So he's got a chance. I think round of 8 is a stretch for sure. That's more of a headline clickbait type stuff, but I definitely could see multiple wins this season. I think that 23XI team is expecting multiple wins this season just with the guys they have in charge over there. And I have to think that Bubba Wallace is going to feel that pressure if he's not the one to deliver these good results early in the season.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my point. That's kind of why I wanted to ask you, is because I along with a lot of people think, based on Bubba's track record, that he does deserve a Cup ride, and it's just taking him experience. But you don't have the most patient person at the helm of that organization.
Yes and no. I mean, Bubba's their hand-picked guy. I mean, that's their guy that they wanted to start this around, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Now, if he goes all season and he doesn't have a handful, I'm going to say if he doesn't have 3 to 5 top 5 finishes and he's not being more consistent, maybe a 10 or so top 10s, maybe even three or so top 5s, and close, 10 to a dozen top 10 finishes. I think that seat could start getting a little hot, but you got to think, who are they going to put in it? The feeder system down in the Xfinity and trucks right now, there's not a lot of guys that bring a lot of funding right now. So, Bubba does do that. He brings a lot of eyeballs, a lot of attention, a lot of funding, whether that's good attention in your eyes or negative attention for whatever reason. He brings a lot of funding, and he's a popular driver. Like, Bubba Wallace is, I think, a great dude. He's hilarious. I don't know if anybody ever follows him on Twitter, but he likes to stoke the fire a little bit on, Austin Cindric's tires getting confiscated, and, throwing out a tweet about that with a little emoji. So, he likes to throw a little shade and have some fun, but, I think that seat could start getting hot.
Hey, before we get out of here, I wanted, in case we both got busy weeks, so we might not be able to make it back on here for you guys until after next week's race. We head to Phoenix next week. Who you got, real quick?
Well, put me on the
Throwing
spot
you on
there.
the spot, man. Putting you on the spot. See what you got.
I'm going to say Ryan Blaney. He's been fast. He's good on those smaller tracks. He's good at Phoenix. I think Ryan Blaney's going to get a finish put together, and he's going to bring it home next week. What about you? Who you got?
I'm going to go with Mr. Sauer himself, Chase Elliott.
Okay.
I think he's proven himself at Phoenix, and he can get a good grasp on the car, practice and qualifying. I think he's got a good shot to win. It'll be a great race. With it. I really am optimistic. Looking down at the schedule, we got Phoenix, Atlanta, and then Circuit of the Americas. Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. 3 great tracks coming up. I see parity at all of them, so I'm looking forward to it.
We want to hear from you guys about all the things we've talked about today. Tell us what your reaction was to Vegas. Is Bowman a hack? Is he a showman? Is he a slowman? Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and we'll be sure to give some shout outs on the next episode. So we appreciate you joining us here on the Pit Box. Have a good night.
See you guys. Thanks for watching.